there's a lot of misconceptions around Sasaki's name. For one, it really stands out to surprise me that even today people don't know that this isn't the actual Sasaki, like not even close. So we're gonna go through a couple of things on how Sasaki came to be, and then how much of a beast he is and why he deserves to have his original Saber form. So we know that the servants that we summon in the wars aren't the real thing. They're just copies of those selected figures thrown into the war and designed to perform a role. The thing about Sasaki's design is that it was a little bit different from everybody else's because there was so much friction in terms of him having a stable background. The story originally pinpointed his existence as not just one, but multiple entities, and this is why Medea was able to pull off a successful summoning, because the Sasaki that she brought out, the one that was summoned in Hassan's place, is nothing more than a wraith. He's not a true heroic spirit. He's just a ghost, and barely a ghost on top of that. But more importantly, he's not Sasaki. He's really just some random guy playing as Sasaki. As a matter of fact, the only reason that this guy, at least the guy that we know as Sasaki, can serve to be the real Kojirou is because his existence is so similar, and because he perfected the Tsubume Geishi on the swallows. And what this means is that our Sasaki effectively made history his bitch through pure skills alone. And that's one of the many reasons why he's so respected. So in that point, this draws up a bunch of questions. Well, what about Shimosa? I see a ton of people talking about, oh well, in Shimosa we get the real version of Sasaki. But that isn't true either. Though we know that Sasaki was a very skilled swordsman and he was capable of much more than what was portrayed in the Fate Stay Night War, the Sasaki that we see in Shimosa is yet another variant closer to his existence with less restrictions. And you can see this once those restrictions were lifted, he was able to enter the realm of nothingness with Musashi, showing feats even greater than he had in Stay Night, just to show how capable he actually is. But again, he himself mentions that he's just some random guy. That's why he was called the nameless Saber and not the actual Sasaki. Even by the end of the chapter, he was never revealed to be the actual Kojirou. And although the real Musashi, the one that's currently dying in the caves of Shimosa, recognize him as Kojirou, this is only because this is our closest Fate universe equivalent. So he treats the guy in Shimosa the same way. And even the real Musashi recognizes Kojirou's skills, saying that he was more than a worthy rival in his lifetime. By this point, you should know that the actual Sasaki has yet to be summoned. Now, we've seen a ton of memes over the years, meme in, meme out, meme in, meme out. When are we gonna get the 5-star Saber version of Sasaki? When is Sasaki going to become an actual grand servant? What conditions would have to be present for him to get this true summoning? Again, if you look at the framework for the type of character that Sasaki is, and we talked a lot about this before, he's a lot like a Robin Hood, he's a lot like a Jack the Ripper, he's a lot like a nursery rhyme, where he's just fitting the mold of the character, but he's not the actual person per se. In the event that we're able to get the real Musashi, the one that fought against the actual Kojirou in the real world, what would they be like? We've grown an attachment to this character, even though he's technically not even the real thing. But the true Sasaki will be a completely new existence. How will the fandom react to this? Will they give the real Sasaki his credit? Or will they side with the Fate? I mean, it's hard not to respect the man who's able to reach true magic level with pure skill despite him being a Fate. Can't just throw that to the side. At the same time, we were only able to even witness this because he took the place of the real one. So the real one is even better than that. Is Fate going to make the fake one a Grand Saber, or is Fate going to make the real one a Grand Saber? Will they start to treat the fake Sasaki like they treat the fake Musashi? Because I've gotten into that in the last video. A lot of people have slandered Musashi and they want the real one. As we all know, the female Musashi that we have isn't real either. She says it herself. She's just an alternate version from a different realm. She's a wandering traveler that can walk through worlds. And even in the story, she was practicing to be on the level of the real Musashi, but she's not the actual thing. So considering that she's a fake and he's a fake, there's a lot of room open for these actual servants to be summoned. An actual younger version of the real Musashi that was dying in Shimosa. That could be a whole nother chapter. It could almost be an answer to that chapter. It could be a part 2 to Shimosa, or an event in its own right. The focus is a lot less about the plans of using the heroic spirit swordsman and more so about the breeding of the samurai from that era. Are we going to see them join forces, or are we going to see them have another duel where the narrative just throws the match at the last minute for the sake of pleasing the fandom? You know, I had one of my day ones on the channel come to me on Twitter and shoot me a message. Shout out to them. He's the reason that I made this video, and he was asking me why was Sasaki summoned as an assassin in the first place. He's a samurai, he doesn't really have any assassin characteristics. Shouldn't he have been in the Saber class to begin with? Now there's many different reasons why he was put into that class, but I'll break it down to the main two. One being his catalyst for his summoning was again the position of Hassan. So no matter what happened, he had to be taking over the position of Hassan, who was the assassin, which is why Hassan doesn't show up in that route. And then you have the third route in Heaven's Field where the roles reverse, and they show us this by Hassan taking his place. The story goes out of its way to let us know that they cannot coexist. The other reason is that a lot of the Fate Stay Night storyline is predetermined. If you look at the materials, there's a question that they asked Nasu about why Shiro was able to dream about Excalibur before he even summoned Saber. And the reason being is that King Arthur had a practical reservation to be summoned in the war regardless, especially considering Artoria being a living servant and her role that she had to play for the counterforce. Again, it was predetermined. So even if he wanted to be a Saber, there's only so many classes, and then you got Gil being the extra from the last war. It's an old war that can only be one of that class from that particular Grail war at a time, so he couldn't have got this class even if he wanted to. One of my favorite feats from Sasaki is, you know, the one where they talk about how he fended off nearly everybody in the war. It's like, yeah, he stood at the gate and beat everybody. Like you thought Emiya was impressive, this dude just stood here at this gate and fended off everybody, including him. No phantasm, can't even leave the premises. So if he wanted to survive, he would have to dodge in that restricted area because it's not like he can leave. He's operating on a handicap because he wields a great sword, which in theory should be a hindrance to his mobility. But he moves around like he's wielding a dagger. There's a lot of talk about how good Sasaki is, but there's never really any context behind it. There's never really why Sasaki is as good as he is. And that's something that I feel like really should be explored if either of them, the fake or the real, get a proper Saber class. This needs to be the first thing that they tackle, and a lot of this story can revolve around it. The story tells us through hearsay that he accomplished his skill just by practicing on swallows. But you have to wonder, what exactly did that regimen entail? Like, I would want to see how long it took, the mental process, his day-to-day exercises. What was the actual regimen to learn something so impactful that it has you fending off some of the greatest spirits of all time? We gotta know. As far as the grand conversation goes, I never really felt like he had the proper background to be a grand. I know a lot of people in the community piggyback on that idea. For me, it's the same reason I completely disagree with Orion being a grand. I was never on board with that. We all know that Sasaki is talented enough in terms of skill, but the background is more on the lacking side when you compare him to the other grands. I feel like a grand should be exactly that, and if we start just throwing people into grand class just because they're good, you might as well just put anybody in grand. But I am down for him to get his Saber class at the very least. I do really want to see that.